Good afternoon. You are now entering Sapo Studios. Frogs and species of all kinds are welcome. Fasten your seatbelt. You are in for quite a ride. Initiating Scratch Track Saturday in 5, 4,
3, 2, 1. Anonymous. Saturdays.
Hello everybody! Welcome to Sapo Studios Scratch Track Saturdays. You got your boy, ASAP Froggy, the one, the only, Bingus Frog.
Yo, yo.
And we have a super amazing guest that we have been very excited to get into the studio today, Miss Violetta Zironi.
Yes, welcome Violetta.
Really glad, I finally made it, and very excited for this. How's it going?
It's going pretty great. We've had an awesome couple weeks actually. Melanie Safka, Hurricane, Jed XO, Body Bag Jones, the collection of artists that we've had have been absolutely amazing, and you being on the bare end of that as the latest one is very exciting for us. We've definitely been looking forward to this. So let's jump right in. You were born in Italy, right?
Correct. Yes, born and raised.
Born and raised, beautiful thing. I love Italy. My brother is an opera singer, and during school he spent some time in Florence, and we went out to visit him, and it was absolutely gorgeous. Probably my favorite place was Cinque Terre, honestly, but I absolutely adore Italy. I'm
actually from not too far from Cinque Terre, so.
Oh, is that right?
Familiar, yeah.
Did your family grow up without air conditioning? Because I noticed that's a thing out there. Nobody in Italy uses air conditioning, and I don't think I could live without air conditioning.
I grew up without it. Yep, I grew up without it, and now that I live in America, I honestly cannot stand air conditioning.
Oh, is that right? So it's not even like you've become accustomed to it. You completely just don't want anything to do with it.
How do you do that in New York? It gets humid.
I live in Nashville, Tennessee, right? It's really hot and humid
here.
Shit. But, I guess I turn it on for like 10, 15 minutes at a time when I'm really, really like on the verge of sweating. And then I turn it off, but like I sleep without it. I don't like it, I like to embrace the heat. I like the humidity. I like to just get it, acclimated with my surroundings.
Unbelievable.
So feel the air.
Yeah. You've built that Italian skin for it. It's something that I just can't do. I would die. Okay, so how old were you when you moved from Italy to the U.S.?
That was just 6 months ago.
Oh, no, wow. No kidding. So
I was 27, yeah.
Okay, so you spent most of your life in Italy.
Actually, I moved from Germany. I haven't lived in Italy for 8 years, so I've been all over, yeah.
Bouncing around, and you speak perfect English, which is unbelievable, because when I first met you, when we first had our first phone meeting, I was like, oh, she's not from Europe at all. But
thank you.
Yeah, no. So have you always been bilingual? Did you grow up speaking both English and Italian?
No, I didn't grow up speaking English at all. I grew up in an Italian family in a town where people speak Italian. I'm kind of small town in Italy. We do study English in school since the early kind of elementary school, but that I don't think that does it. When people learn languages at school, it's not like they learn them. But
right, it's a conversational thing.
Yeah, I learned English through music, and like I said, I moved away from Italy pretty early, like my early 20s, and I just always wanted to be fluent,
When did you pick up your first guitar?
I guess I was in middle school. Maybe I was like 12. Yeah.
And was anyone in your family musical and kind of pointed you in that direction, or was that just an interest of yours?
Yeah, so my dad is a musician, kind of in his free time. Not like professional, but he loves music. He's an artist for a living. He's a comic artist, illustrator.
Yeah, as I understand it, he's a Disney animator, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah. He draws comics, right, for Disney, but always loved music, and we would like play music when I was a little girl, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, with me, him, and my sister. And he realized that, my voice was okay, so he basically got me into piano lessons when I was 5, and so I've been playing music since then. But guitar only came along, like, in my early teens.
And when you started to play, did you immediately have an affinity for writing as well, or did that come later?
I guess that came a little later, to be honest. I was raised kind of playing covers and trying to replicate, the songs from my favorite artists. And then I remember, I guess I wrote my first song around 16 years old. Yeah.
Do you remember what that song was?
Yeah, it was not very good.
Was it a love song?
No, it was more like I'm badass, I'm a queen type song.
Nice. That's awesome. So when you talk about artists that you were trying to replicate, and that's kind of also, a bit of how you learned English, which is how a lot of people kind of learn English, whether it's through music or watching TV shows or movies from another country. That's kind of how you pick up the language. Who were some of those artists that were starting to influence you, not only from a music point of view, but also kind of picking up on the language?
Yeah, so I owe basically my first, desire to really get good at English came, like I said, in my early teens, listening to Green Day. Like, to this day, that's still my favorite band when it comes to, like, bands,
Green Day is awesome. I've seen them live several times, and they do not disappoint.
I know, me too. I saw them last year as well, and after 30 years of career, they still rock the stage.
They still got it.
Yep.
Yeah, Green Day was definitely my first big obsession, and I remember buying a book, like an actual bookstore, with all the lyrics to all their songs from every album, and like on the left page there would be the lyrics, and on the right page there would be the translation. So I remember going through every single lyric of every single song and learning not only what those songs meant, but also slang, expressions and words that you wouldn't learn in school or on an English class. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's so cool. So it literally is assisting you with figuring out the intricacies of the language. That's awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And also Green Day kind of inspired me to pick up the guitar, because I wanted to play along with them and, learn how to harmonize. They have really good harmonies in their songs. Even though it's rock, it's still really melodic, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Right? And so even if you strip down their songs, I feel like they still work in an acoustic kind of setting. And then later on, my dad's main instrument is harmonica, so he's a huge blues fan. So I kind of grew up listening to that and a lot of jazz, and I got really into blues and like folk music and kind of 1940s, 50s kind of jazz, rock and roll vibes. So I loved that for a long time. So I would say that's when it started, and discovered a lot of older Italian music that kind of would follow those genres, but in a very melodic way, and I think that's what really shaped my songwriting.
I really want to give people an opportunity to hear what you do before we continue. So I'm going to hop over to your Spotify right now and pop on one of your songs. Is there a song in particular that you want us to play, or should we just pick anything out of the queue?
So the fun thing is that I haven't released a song on Spotify in almost 2 years, because I've transitioned to Web3 entirely, but I guess you could play my last song. It's kind of a fun one. It's called Poor Millionaire. That was the last one I released.
All right. We're going to go with Poor Millionaire. Do you have that over there, ASAP? All right. Give him 1 second over here. it's funny because I know that a lot of Web3 artists are still hitting the Web2 platforms because, they're trying to keep those numbers up as well. But I guess when you're finding success in the Web3 world, that you don't need that platform anymore.
Yeah, well, it's a very kind of bold decision that I made, and I don't know if there's many more artists that are doing that, actually. But, for me, I don't think it's worth it. I'm such a Web3 maxi, honestly, that, I believe that Web3 deserves all my time, and I have no intention of, putting my energy into something that, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. Like Spotify, it's just not a sustainable model. And it just exploits artists, basically. So I don't want to, really be associated with that anymore.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that after we play this track. Did you want to say something over there, ASAP, before we spin it?
I was going to say the same thing. I was going to say, I do want to dive into all of, because you are killing it in the Web3 space. We do need to, highlight all of those things.
Yeah, we'll jump into that after this. So we're going to go with Poor Millionaire by Violetta Zironi.
Good luck to you and all your friends. You'll get what's coming in the end. 'Cause you're the worst kind of girl I know. But at least you won't burn in hell alone. I'm just joking, you won't have to wait. You're already lying in the bed you made. And your money, it might keep you rich. But nothing changes 'cause you're still a bitch. Maybe no one ever loved you when you were young. Something went wrong and I should feel sorry. And all the money in the world can help you. You were just scared, a poor millionaire who couldn't buy love no matter how much you tried. It's not too late to apologize. It must be hard to live through someone else with so much talent you don't have yourself. There's only two types of girls and guys, those who create and those who waste their time. So tell me, which side have you been on? Did you lift me up or drag me down? No matter how much I'd like to forgive, nothing would change because you're still a bitch. Feel sorry, and all the money in the world can help you. You were just scared, a poor millionaire who couldn't buy love no matter how much you tried. It's not too late to apologize.
Oh,
so good.
So good. That was gorgeous. Your voice is just so smooth,
like
and
a pillow.
And it is like a pillow. Yeah, and I do love that jazz accompaniment. And I want to hear about the band a little bit. Who were the instrumentalists that were accompanying you on that track? Because that was absolutely awesome.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words. Well, that was actually produced by a friend of mine, incredible artist himself, singer, songwriter, producer, Ed Prozek. He's an American songwriter. He's from San Francisco, but We met in Berlin, where I lived for 5 years, and that's where he lives. And we wrote a lot of songs together. We still write together remotely. So that's entirely him. He played every single instrument.
That was awesome. Really gorgeous. And I do want to just kind of touch on what we were talking about right before we hopped into your song. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and set the room real quick because we have some new guests that have joined us. We are Sapo Studios. Our goal is to bring the majority of profits and ownership rights back into the hands of musicians. We operate under the umbrella of the Notorious Frog NFT project, aka Frogland. Do your own research, but get involved. We have plans to unveil a marketplace where you can buy and sell stems and do a whole lot more. But until then, we're jamming with artists, chatting it up with them about music, life, and NFTs. Today, we have the very talented Violetta Zironi in the studio with us. Very excited to have her here. And so, Violetta, you were talking about how Spotify exploits artists and you don't feel that you need that platform now that you've found success in the Web3 world. And my God, have you found success in the Web3 world? I just want to read a couple of stats here that are just so impressive. So first of all, 3 of your releases, your albums, Handmade Songs, Moonshot, and Another Life, generated 425 Ethereum in secondary sales, which is absolutely remarkable and something to be applauded. And it's huge for the space. So bravo and well done on that. I also want to mention that, as you were saying, your father, Giuseppe, is an artist, and we saw that he did the artwork for your album Moonshot, which is very cool. But your NFT collections have been also charting on the Billboard Music NFT Top 10 ever since its launch in July of 2022, and you're the only singer-songwriter in Web3 to chart on Billboard for 10 consecutive months. So you've absolutely found all of the success you need from the NFT and Web3 world. So I could see how, you feel like you don't need a platform like Spotify. But what I would ask is, do you feel from an accessibility standpoint, like clearly there's a good portion of people that are accessing your music, but NFTs, Web3, it's still a whole new world for a lot of people. From an accessibility standpoint, do you feel like you're cutting your audience off in any way by not, giving into that platform, even though you feel that it's abusive in certain ways?
It's kind of a people ask me this question a lot. My answer is no. I don't think that I'm cutting anybody out, really, because I think if you want something, you can go get it, And it's not like my music is non-accessible. Right. You can listen to my music for free on OpenSea by just clicking on the NFTs, right? Mm-hmm. It's there for everybody to listen to. But clearly, I just don't want to give it out to people that don't want it necessarily. I don't want to give it out free. I don't, on a platform that mostly is deceiving. That's my problem with Spotify, because like I said, you can listen to it for free on OpenSea, but what Spotify promises is we're going to pay you, we're going to get exposure to you, which an absolute lie, and so I just don't want to, I don't want to play that game. I want to give my music to those that want it, to those that make an effort to go and get it, because that's what artists do. They make an effort to go and make their music, right? And so I feel like there should be a similar kind of effort from the other side,
Absolutely.
That's what's going to keep the artists happy and motivated to keep creating.
Yep, and that makes perfect sense. I want to rewind a little bit. So, I did want to touch on that because we mentioned the whole Spotify thing, but I want to go back to, you started on piano, you transitioned over into guitar much later on. But at what point did you ever go out and start performing any of the songs that, even if they were covers, were you going out and performing, or were you solely someone that was, practicing and creating and playing at home?
No, actually, I had my first kind of live performance as a, of course I did a lot of piano concerts when I was studying piano, girl, end of the year kind of recitals, sure. Whatever. But performance-wise, in front of an audience, I did my first one at 14, and then shortly after, I actually put together a band with my dad and one of his friends, like a 60-year-old drummer. And we would play like in town fairs and, local festivals and bars, just as a trio.
What did you call yourselves?
Oh God, what was it? I don't remember, actually. It was just me. It was just me, basically. It was just Violetta Zironi. No mention of the band, but it was fun because I was only 15, and then there were these two like old geezers.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. So at what point did you decide that, clearly you knew that you had a talent for this because you were the front person of a band and you were out there putting yourself out there. At what point did you decide, okay, this is something that I want to pursue as a career?
Yeah, I don't think there was an exact moment until something very specific happened. So I just basically spent, my high school years performing kind of, in the summer or doing some weekends. And then up until I was like, I guess 18. And I knew that was the thing that I just loved doing the most. I loved doing that, but I didn't yet, I always knew that, my dream would be to become a full-time musician, but I was still in high school. I didn't pursue it actively until I decided to audition for X Factor Italy.
That was with Simon Cowell, right?
Yeah, that's Simon Cowell's show. He was not on my show, but we had different right,
judges. All Italian judges, I'd imagine.
Exactly. Yeah, actually, there was one international one, which was my judge, Mika. Have you heard of that artist, Mika?
I haven't, to be honest with you.
Well, he's pretty famous worldwide. He was the international star in the show. But, so I decided to audition for that, and I passed the audition unexpectedly, got into the show, got to the final, came third, and was offered a major label deal at 18 by the end of that year. Yeah, so that's when I was like, oh, this is my chance. Let's go. So, yeah.
So did you take them up on that offer?
Yes, sadly I did, but also, good because, the deal that I signed was bad. It was one of those cutthroat, 360 deals they call, where they take everything from you and give you nothing in return, except for, an opportunity, I guess, to understand what you want and what you don't. So that's what happened to me. It was the worst deal I could possibly sign. Realized that shortly after, realized that I was trapped, but, I had already taken on the dream. I was like, okay, this is my opportunity. I'm going to get out of this deal and pursue my career full time. And so, but I was still in school, and I decided, to do the bare minimum to just get my high school diploma and get out of there and just do music full time. So that's what I did. And
do you feel like the show pigeonholed you at all? Because I know that, and I don't think so, listening to your music and not associating you with that on a widespread level. But I know a lot of people go on those shows and then it's like, oh, that's the person from that show, as opposed to seeing them as their own artist.
Yes, that's what happened, for sure. I remember I became the girl with a ukulele because I did my first audition with a ukulele playing, and they'd never seen a ukulele before on TV in Italy. That's a very exotic instrument. But yeah, I kind of became that, and they did label me as a certain genre, which I obviously, I kind of was against that later on because it turned into this really pop thing that they wanted me to be, and I just didn't want to do that. And so it actually took me a long time to break out of that, because I needed to find my original sound. I needed to write more songs that were aligned with the sound that represented me, and to be honest, the creative development of the sound of an artist takes a long time, and mine it took probably 4 or 5 years for me to get to the point where I was really, really felt represented by the music that I was creating. Because there's a lot of people, even after X Factor, everyone, when there's a young artist, they all want to tell that artist how that person should sound. Not just the show, but managers, publishers, co-writers that you may write with. They all want to contribute to, your sound. And they each see you in different ways and sometimes forget to listen to you. And it wasn't until 4 or 5 years later, in 2017, when I met my long-term co-writer, Michael, that I wrote my NFT music with, that we really nailed it down, what my sound was. So, yeah.
And that's funny because we've talked to other artists about that, this concept that these labels or managers or whoever find you because they like what you do. They see the talent within you. They see that, what you do is appealing to a mass audience, but then they don't want to let you do what they discovered you doing. And it's bizarre. Like they want to mold it and shift it and change it and, go against the very reason that they discovered you in the first place. Doesn't make much sense. When you talk about the bad contract, do you feel like that was something that was unavoidable because you were just emerging into the business and you didn't have any leverage? So regardless of what kind of a lawyer you might have had behind you or whatever, you were still going to be pigeonholed into a deal like that? Or was it because you didn't have any legal representation to look over the contract? How did you find yourself in that position, do you think?
Yeah, no, exactly why. Because I was so excited. And, the way that they kind of coerced me into it was bad because what happened was, so we did X Factor final. We played in front of an arena full of 10,000 people, right? And the way X Factor works is that when you get into the actual competition, you're isolated from the outside world for 3 months. Like it's like a reality TV show where you live with the other artists in this house. You can't see or talk to anyone. They basically take your phone and your computers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? And so I got into the X Factor as a nobody, got out of the X Factor after the final as someone who was being stopped on the street for selfies, and my songs were on the radio, and my music was charting.
That's insane.
Like 3 months of nothing, and then boom, like superstar. And label gets me the day after the final. The label calls me into their office in Milan, and they're like, "We love your music. We have a manager for you, and we would like to offer you a deal for 5 albums, and we have so many plans for you." And of course, I said yes on the spot and signed it. So I didn't even think about it, but I was dealing with grown men in an office. You know what I mean? Exactly what they were doing. Completely took it. And until later, and I was 18.
Hold on 1 second, because you are breaking up a little bit. So just, I don't know if you can maybe move to a different spot in the room, or if we need to disconnect and reconnect. But I want to hear all of this, and you're cutting in and out a little bit.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it may be cutting in and out still, but why don't you try to go again? So I got to where you were saying that they wanted to sign you for 5 albums, and you there? Oh, now I think you've been rugged completely. All right, why don't you go ahead and disconnect, and we'll invite you back up onto the stage? Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and grab my phone real quick. While we do that, why don't I go ahead and reset the room? Thank you all for being here. We are Sapo Studios. Our goal is to bring the majority of profits and ownership rights back into the hands of musicians. We operate under the umbrella of the Notorious Frog NFT project, aka Frogland. Do your own research, but get involved. We have plans to unveil a marketplace where you can buy and sell stems and do a whole lot more. But until then, we're jamming it up with artists and chatting with them about music, life, and NFTs. Today, we have the very talented Violetta Zironi. Violetta, you're with us?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Excellent. So you were saying that you were signed by the label that wanted you to do 5 albums and then kind of manipulated you.
Right. So, exactly. So I signed that deal on the spot. because I thought it was amazing. And it wasn't until, a couple of weeks later that I spoke to, a lawyer that they told me what I'd done. I just realized the situation that I'd put myself in and tried to navigate it as best as I could.
So did you wind up having to do those 5 albums, or did you find a way out of that contract?
Yeah, I found a way out of that contract because I actually did produce the first album. They actually produced an EP for me. They paid for it. I worked on it with a producer for 6 months, delivered the album to the label, and they ended up not wanting to put it out. And that was my way out of the contract, because the same way I had to deliver, they also had to deliver, but as per contract, but they didn't. So I was able to get out.
Okay, so that's awesome that you were able to get out. I want to rewind to when you were saying that there were 10,000 people in the audience when you were playing on the X Factor. Now, having never played to a crowd of that size, did you not feel at all your nerves getting to you when you walked out on that stage? Or was this just like, I was born to do this, nerves of steel, jump right into singing your song, and it was like everything just clicked?
I was a confident little 18-year-old, to be honest. And I was also very focused. I was very, very focused. I knew I wasn't even thinking about it. I was like, I'm gonna smash this. And then when they announced the winner and turned out I didn't win, then all the emotions came out. But up until that moment, I was laser focused. So yeah.
So after you got out of the contract, what was your next move to kind of pivot? And did you feel at all that even though, you felt like this was a good thing because you were breaking from these people that had this hold over you and were manipulative, weren't pushing forward your music, that was your real connection to any sort of music as a business, and now you didn't know where to start?
No, actually, I felt like I'd learned a lot, that I'd made a lot of connections, and that finally I was able to utilize those connections for myself and not for the label, right? Mm-hmm. So I basically, in the meantime, I'd met a lot of people, and what happened was that I met a UK artist. His name was Jack Savaretti, who was half Italian and half British, and he was on tour in Italy. He had a good audience, and we got to know each other, and he decided to bring me on tour with him in Italy for a whole season to open his shows, and kind of introduced me to more people. And then long story short, I ended up moving to the UK because he, opened a few possibilities in my mind, that kind of gave me the perspective that, hey, like, I actually don't like the market in Italy because my music doesn't seem to resonate so much, but this UK band that's really successful and signed to a good label are appreciative of it, and they think that I can do it. So I believed it, and then I moved to London.
And what was it in London that, kind of solidified everything for you? So what did you do when you got there in terms of connecting?
It was hard, but I focused mostly on writing. So obviously London is an amazing city for music. It's got some of the most talented and successful writers there. And so I decided to basically just work on my songwriting and collaborate with as many people as possible and try to develop my sound. That's mostly what I did. Took a few meetings, but of course London is a very expensive city. I was
very expensive.
Yeah, it's basically like New York. And I had very supportive parents who were like, if you go to London, focus on your music. Don't get a job in a pizza place. If you really have to live there, don't go get a job and use your time. We'll help you out when you need it, but, focus on your music, And so that's what I did, thanks to, them, emotional support. That's
great support and also great advice because, I was someone that moved out to California with the dream of being an actor, and immediately I needed to support myself, so I'm working catering and restaurants and stuff. And I'll never forget, like, who knows what would have happened, right? But there was this Sony audition that I got, and I had to work that day. And if I didn't go to work, it meant I would have lost my job. And it was a restaurant job, and it's like, who the fuck cares? But I was so concerned about paying my bills that I missed the Sony audition. And that was the whole reason I was out here. So to have that support and also to get that advice is wonderful.
Yeah, that really motivated me, because if I felt like, oh, look, if my parents believe that I can do this and they're not putting, they're putting good pressure on me. They're basically telling me you have no excuses. You know what I mean? Don't make up excuses out of the blue. And so it motivated me to work really hard. And I ended up meeting a girl who then became my manager, and she was living in Berlin at the time, which I'd never been to, but she booked a few shows for me. And then I started kind of going back and forth in Berlin, Germany, which I loved, and I saw that it was a much cheaper city, less competition, kind of relaxed environment. And there were grants for artists. Basically, the German government would support artists to make their records by giving them free money, basically, if they were residents in the city. And so with that goal to get a grant to make an album, I moved to Berlin.
And how long?
That's so cool.
And a lot of times with stuff like that, you have to be living in a place for a certain period of time to be considered a quote-unquote resident. Was it immediately once you moved there you were able to take advantage of that, or did you have to live there for a certain period of time?
No, I was able to apply right away, thankfully, because, of course, of the European Union, right? So it doesn't actually matter. Like if you're Italian living in Germany, it's basically like you're living in Italy, but you have to have like a paper that says you're resident. So it was good to go, but I didn't get it. Like I applied, but I didn't get it that first time. But I made the album regardless. I found different ways to fund it. I actually went back to Italy and I put together a business plan. I was 21 at the time. Put together a business plan and raised $30,000 to make this album from private investors. So
that's unbelievable. And two things that I take away from you just so far in this conversation, and it's been echoed again with other artists, is that the two most important things if you're going to find success is, one, eyes on the prize. Always, stay focused on what it is that you want to do, what you love, and what the intention of everything is. But it's also about being having a good attitude and being nice to people. The amount of artists that we've spoken to that have found success in their careers because of the interpersonal connections, that's where it all lies. And it sounds like with you as well, a lot of people that you met along the way wanted to help lift you up and support you and bring you in to the fold in a certain respect, and that helps.
100%. And if I can just tell a little anecdote, because I think it's kind of relevant to the NFT thing. I obviously didn't know at the time, but so I needed to make this album, right? And so I managed to raise this first chunk at the start to make the money to make the album, and then I wanted to promote it, right? And I wanted to go play at South by Southwest. Which, and do a U.S. promo tour, kind of do a radio tour and, different festivals. And I needed another like $10,000 to make this happen. And so I went to a person that I knew was a fan of mine in Italy. And I put together, again, like a whole travel plan and budget. And I said to him, listen, I really want to do this. This is a way for you to potentially invest early, and if you help me out with this, I'll take you on the tour with me. And so basically offered him utility, right? Very similarly to the way I do it now with my community. You help me out, and I'll give you a great experience, and you'll be able to like come on a tour across the U.S., New York, L.A. for a whole month. And that person, jumped on board. And so we toured the U.S. for a whole month together, right? So
that's unbelievable.
yeah, I ended up doing basically, similar model now with NFTs, right? With a utility I offer.
So we're going to talk about that in a minute. First, I do want to play another one of your tracks. We're going to go ahead and play something off of Moonshot from your OpenSea page like you suggested. So we just pulled that up. And ASAP, why don't you go ahead and run that track? What do you got for us, ASAP?
This is Moonshot, man.
I would cross the universe and circle round the sun to find that little part of my heart I've never known. And I would give up everything, I would defy gravity, 'cause something's out there telling me I am not alone. And I would travel far and wide to reach my destination, fly among the stardust, realigning constellations. So fire up my rocket ship, I'm ready to risk it all, 'cause you and me are meant to be the moonshot of the moon. Watching out the window as the planets pass me by, sending out a signal, awaiting your reply. I'm not afraid of loneliness, but you're the only thing I'd miss. So if you're there in the abyss, send me back a sign, and I would travel far and wide to reach my destination, fly among the stardust, realigning constellations. So fire up my rocket ship, I'm ready to risk it all, 'cause you and me are meant to be the moonshot of the moon. Far and wide to reach my destination, fly among the stardust, 'cause I know that you'll be waiting. So fire up my rocket ship, I'm ready to risk it all, 'cause you and me are meant to be the moonshot. Yeah, you and me are meant to be the moonshot, 'cause you and me just might be the moonshot of them all.
It's very, 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 very good.
Absolutely beautiful.
It's very cinematic. It should be in a film.
Yeah,
it's like a montage of like.
Have you
there's
ever
so many things
seen
playing in my head?
ASAP, have you ever seen Moulin Rouge?
Back in the day.
So
sure.
Maybe because there's a lot of rocket ship talk with Elton John, but fire up my rocket ship, I'm ready to risk it all. The way you sing that line too, I could see it as a very Moulin Rouge from the movie esque scene.
It's so good.
Yeah,
it's so
awesome.
good, and I love the art that's with it. Shout out to your dad.
Yes,
it's
Giuseppe Zironi.
It's like the Jetsons kind of. It's so good.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
beautiful.
you so much, guys.
You did really lock in your sound, and you sound confident in it, and you're executing the sound very well.
Yeah, well, I mean, talk about sounding confident. It's funny because with that line, "Fire up my rocket ship, I'm ready to risk it all." I know in the sense of this song, it was very much prescribed to love, but it to me was very indicative of what it sounds like, who you are as a person, just in general, in terms of, grabbing life by the balls and going out there and saying, like, I'm going to harness this moment. I'm going to do whatever it takes. Like, you hear about, I need another $10,000 to be able to do this. Well, a lot of people wouldn't have been able to raise the first 30. And you go out, and that's not going to stop you. That would be a roadblock for many others. And you say, okay, I'll figure it out. So, yeah, I mean, you definitely fired it up and risked it all. And it's awesome to see that paying off. I do want to give Terrence an opportunity to speak, because it looks like he hopped over onto the stage. What's going on, Terrence?
Hey, thanks. Oh man, so great hearing V's story, and like Moonshot. I remember, I guess it was probably about a year ago. I just started kind of getting into spaces, and hearing her sing Moonshot live was like, I couldn't freaking believe it. Like, here I am, in Central America, in this beach, and I'm listening. Anyway, hey, I've got a couple. Thanks, guys, for having her on, and thanks for having me up. But I do have a couple of questions for you, V. So I want to ask you. So I got 3 questions. One is, I want to ask you about the connection with Michael, about how that happened. I want to ask you also about the process. How did you guys create together, and did you do it remotely? Did you do it together in a studio? And the third question is, how's Popeye? So first of all, so with you and Michael, like the context is as a producer and collaborator, I just want to get better all the time. I want to get better at it, and I want to be a better partner and a better collaborator. So, and it sounded like, the connection that you had with Michael was very successful. So I'd like to just kind of dig into that a little bit. What was it about Michael and your relationship that made it work so well?
Yeah, Terrence, thank you so much. And by the way, guys, Terrence is like a member of my community for a long time. Amazing artist, producer himself. So
we've had him as a guest on the show. We love Terrence, and we love when he stops by. And anyone that Jaden Violet sends us is a friend of the show. Jaden sent us Terrence, and definitely a friend of ours.
Amazing. Then no introduction needed. So regarding Michael, actually, we were set up by my manager at the time, who was just trying to. When I first moved to Berlin in 2017, I wanted to do more sessions, and we were set up. We didn't know each other, but he showed up to my apartment, and he was still living in Nashville actually at the time. He's from New York, but he lived in Nashville for a long time, but he would come to Europe to work with artists for a while, and so we were set up to write, and the basically it sparked because one thing that I hadn't experienced with other co-writers, Michael listened to me. Like, he listened for a long time, couple of hours. I told him what my goals were musically. I showed him my favorite songs. I made him a playlist. We listened together, and he really, really listened. He'd never written, music like the one that I was showing to him. So he took on that challenge, and he lent himself to me, to who I was, putting all his ego aside. And I think that was...
share like personal stuff you were dealing with? Like, did you get into that? Like, what was going on in your life?
I mean, yeah, we do that all the time. I mean, we became really, really good friends, after that, because we connect, of course, on a personal level, on a musical level, and so I feel free to share with him anything that goes on, and he shares what goes on in his life, and sometimes we write about that, so it's a really, really true collaboration.
So did you continue to collab remotely during the lockdowns?
Yes, actually, we wrote a song, Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, on Zoom. Yeah.
Amazing. So you just kind of did like a back and forth on Zoom?
Yeah, we would call, and, we still do it now. Like, we still write on Zoom. I come up with some melodies, then we set up a Zoom call, we work on it for a few hours, then we pick it up again like a few days later, But, you know, we developed my sound, I feel, together. And to write the Moonshot EP, it took us 2 years, you know, where we regularly wrote together once a week. And because he moved to Berlin eventually. And so I remember we had Mondays was via Michael Day. And I would go to his house and we would write the whole day. And in 2 years, we perfectioned and refined all 5 Moonshot songs and wrote, of course, a lot more, but ended up with those 5 favorites. So, yeah.
Is he back in Nashville now?
No, he permanently moved to Berlin, and then I found Web3.
Oh, fuck. So you moved to the States and he moved to Berlin.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
That's a sad song right there, man.
I know, but hey, like, he made this happen with me, and, you know, I told him, listen, it's sad, and he's sad because we can't write as regularly as we used to. But I said, listen, if we write our songs, I got to be over here so that our songs reach, you know, more people. And so he understands, you know. But it's sad.
You guys send files back and forth, say, like, hey, this is a melody I'm working on. What do you think of this? Can you do that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly. And then we just kind of continue on Zoom. But we have a whole month of writing booked for October. So we're going to nail it down when we meet in October.
And for those of you that didn't know, Terrence is actually our third interviewer here on Sapo Studios. He's part of the Sapo crew, and we're so happy to have him as part of the team. Terrence, take it away.
Okay. So last but certainly not least, how is Popeye?
Oh, so Popeye is not actually my dog. I haven't been looking after him for 10 days now, Terrence. So I think he's.
I thought you were going over to the big house and he lives in the garage or something. Don't you go and kind of house it? So you haven't been there for a week and a half?
Yeah, no, I only did it for a week, and now he's back there. He's probably eating light bulbs, as he does.
Oh, shit. So is it time to adopt another stray?
We'll see.
Why, are you looking for a home, Terrence?
You know, I thought you'd never ask me.
We're happy to adopt you over here. No, honestly, we really do love you, and those were some great questions. And what I love about that is a couple of things. The first is that there aren't a lot of people that like to hop up when we open the floor to questions. So the fact that you are always, you know, willing to jump up and chat with us is awesome. But hearing from a producer's perspective, you know, the things that you're looking for to try to enhance the sessions that you're going to have, it really brought an interesting light to things. So thank you for doing that.
Terrence,
well, yeah, and I think the you know, like you were talking about important factors in success. You know, I think you mentioned two. The other one is to always be getting better, always working at improving, and that's an area that I know I need to get better at, which is, you know, collaborating and working with other people, and it's you know, it's a skill. I mean, it's, you know, as working with artists, you know, artists are different. Creative people are different, you know?
Yes, they're fragile beings, man.
And I'm kind of like, I'm one of the reasons that Tommy D kind of approached me about starting up the label is because I'm kind of different in that I'm both creative, but I'm also a business person. And I think there aren't a lot of people who are built this way. Most people are one or the other. You know, it's left brain or right brain. I think another person in this room is similar. I think Violetta, bless your heart, V, I think you are that way as well. I think you're a creative person, but you're also got a good head for business. And it's a pretty rare combination. But, you know, as a producer, you know, you have to basically be a partner, and you know, what I got out of the answer to my question is that the most important thing that a collaborator can do is listen.
It's 1:00.
And it's right, and you know, pay attention. So anyway, so yeah, thank you. I really appreciate.
It's almost like the same sentiment as, like, you know, the artist being a vessel for what's being communicated from, you know, the world, and you know, the producer is the vessel that's trying to, you know, funnel what the artist is putting out. You know, you're capturing that. So that's
essentially a producer's job is to finish, you know. Right, like, you know, creators are very good at starting stuff, but sometimes not great at finishing, and
Correct.
that's where a producer comes in. And you know, in some cases, you know, a producer, you know, as a co-writer, you know, can also help start, you know, can also partner in co-writing. I do that a lot. But you know, our main job is to button it down and finish it and make it, you know, as best a reflection of the artist's message as possible.
Love that.
I also love the beach sounds coming off the back of your sound there, Terrence. Like, you just live the coolest life, man.
You know, again, I'm not lying when I say I think about you, man. I'll be out on my walk with my dog at night.
Oh, we're gonna lose ASAP Froggy to South America. I see it happening.
It's not all good. It's not all good. First of all, I'm back in Toronto right now, so I'm in an area called the Beaches.
Oh, it does sound like
so
the beach.
Beautiful, beautiful beach with a boardwalk and stuff. But anyway, about 5 minutes ago, while I was talking, a guy walked by in a tank top, a man bun, Birkenstocks, and a pink banana hammock. I kid you not. It was appalling. It was like upsetting.
You paint a picture, and as painting pictures goes, that actually is a perfect way to transition. I want to go ahead and shout out the Yellow. He's in the audience, and he went ahead and tweeted, "Beautiful voice, what a talent!" and used AI Blocks, which is AI art generative software that Unique NFT, aka Snoop Frog, aka Ed Mason, the head of Frogland, developed, and Yellow used that to create a beautiful picture of Violetta playing the guitar.
I don't know if you saw that, Violetta, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool.
I just saw it, just commented. It's gorgeous. Thank you so much for creating that.
Very awesome. Okay, so thank you, Terrence, again for hopping up, and I just want to ask you a couple more. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna jump on my longboard and go. So I might. Oh, did you ask a question for me or for Violetta?
No, I was gonna hop back into Violetta, but I do want to check back in with you. I do want to check back in with you soon about what's going on with you.
Yeah, I'll just listen. I'm gonna longboard back home right now, so I'll be listening.
Love it, man.
All right, love it, love you, and we'll talk soon.
Ride safe, man.
So, Violetta, what exactly was it that brought you into the Web3 world?
Yeah, so basically what happened was that, you know, of course, I spent the years after my label deal kind of building my experience, my sound, trying to build an audience in Web 2. It was always a struggle. You know, I was very frustrated. I signed a publishing deal with a major publisher, and you know, again, disappointed with their performance.
Yep.
As a publisher, you know, a lot of ups and downs. I did a lot of stuff, acted in movies, like diversified a lot, played a ton of shows. But then, of course, it was always hard, and I did my first headline tour in Europe in February 2020, sold out tour, and then COVID hit. And, you know, basically that was the time where I thought, like, I was going to take the next step forward.
And you must have been devastated.
Devastated, yeah. And of course, you know, lockdown in Europe was pretty brutal. It was way worse than it was here in the U.S. Like, we had 4 heavy lockdowns, and things didn't really open up until 2022. And so basically everything that I was doing was you know, over. And I seriously considered quitting, you know. I was like, I'm just gonna, I guess this is not what I'm meant to do. I'll always do music, but maybe not for a living, right? And I started looking around, seeing what options I had, but I didn't want to give up cold turkey like that, and I decided to make one last album. And I took the songs, the Moonshot song, finally got that grant from the German government.
Finally got it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Finally got that grant, and flew to Nashville and made the Moonshot record.
How many times did you have to reapply for the grant to get it?
That's so fucking awesome.
That was the second time.
Oh, okay. So you got it on the second try. That's awesome.
Yeah, a few years later.
Yeah, I was gonna say how long between tries.
Yeah, like 4 years.
Wow. Well, that's
Yeah.
tenacity right there.
Yeah. Again, not taking no
Came
for an
back,
answer and not letting something stop you.
You
Yeah,
reassessed.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's something to be taken from this as any artist, you know, in any art form. It's like you just got to keep bringing wood to the fire.
Yeah.
you
Keep
know?
pushing forward.
Yeah, I kept pushing, and even when I was almost, I think I can hear some feedback. Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, yeah. Even when I was about to quit, I couldn't quit like that. So I decided to make that last record and shop it around one last time to labels, and yet another time they all shut me down. You know, they were like, "No, you don't have numbers on TikTok, Spotify, whatever." And that was like the fall of 2021. And then I went back home to Italy for Christmas, spent time with my family, and was, you know, talking about this with my mom. And she saw my frustration. She saw it. She just reads me very well. And was like, hey, have you heard of NFTs?
No way. Came
Yeah.
from your mom?
Yes.
That's awesome.
I know. Like, my parents played a big part in my life and, like, kind of motivating me, you know, very, very strong.
Definitely.
I was always talking
Your
my
biggest
parents'
support
ears
system.
off about NFTs, and they were like, what are you talking about? But for your mom to be like, hey, have you heard about NFTs? That's so cool. Good for your mom. Shout out
She's the most open-minded person that I've ever met. Like, she believes anything is possible, and she passed that belief on to me.
That's so cool.
And she just said, listen, I know it's weird, but before you quit entirely, just give it a try. You got nothing to lose, and your whole, like, dream to lose at the same time. Right. So literally, I had nothing to lose because nothing was going on for me anymore in Web 2. But also, I had my whole passion to give up. So I just found it, decided that that was going to be it. Was very intrigued by the digital aspect of it, the fact that you could collect music and art, not just consume it, but collect it, give value to it, and immediately went all in. Didn't waste a second. So, yeah.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing I have to commend you for is that, you know, you very easily could have said, okay, you know what, this thing of me leaning into who I want to be and the musician I believe I can be and the values that I align with isn't working, so I'm just going to play into the image that they've given me on X Factor, go and use that on TikTok, hop on with the ukulele and keep that thing going, you know. And you could have fallen back into that and said, I can probably pump numbers with this. That already had a following, but you've always been about being you and evolving as an artist, as a musician, as a person, and I commend you for that. That's wonderful.
Thank you. I mean, what do numbers matter if you're not happy?
Listen,
Like
they seem to make some people happy, and I don't understand it, but that's a
You know
motivating
what it
factor
is?
for certain people.
You know what it is, and this is a hot take, and it's going to trigger a lot of people.
Uh-oh, here we go. Hot
Bring
take.
Yeah. If that's what makes them happy, it's because their love for their ego is bigger than their love for music. And that is my firm conviction.
You heard it here, folks. She said it. She said what she said. All right?
I think that's so true.
It is true.
It's so true.
It is true. And the other thing I kind of want to point out that's interesting is, you know, this idea that I get, you know, that a company wants to know that their investment is going to pay off. So they want to see a certain, like, proof of return on investment sort of thing. But with an artist, it should be different, I would think. And there should be, like, this idea of we can recognize natural talent. We can see, you know, what the capabilities are if we pair with this person, what we could create and what that would mean. So it's funny to me, the idea that, you know, when you say you went to the label and you didn't have the TikTok numbers, you didn't have the Spotify numbers, and those were deciding factors. It's like, well, who is this person as an artist? What did they bring to the table, you know, creatively? The reason that you're signing them. Fuck TikTok and Spotify. Like, who is this person?
No, they don't care. They don't care about that. You know, all they care about is money. They don't need, you know, they don't need it. They don't truly love music. That's the problem. You know, that they don't. They
They
just don't
love
give a shit.
money more than they love music.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so they're not musicians. They don't get it. You know.
Well, I appreciate what you're doing out here in the Web3 space.
It's
and
what Melanie would call cement people.
Yeah, definitely. She would call them cement people.
Yes.
I love what you're doing out here in the Web3 space, and it seems like other people do too. People are buying the things that you're putting out. People are following you, hopping into your spaces. You've got an enormous Twitter following, and other big fans of yours outside of us are the Frogland team, who have reached out to us and said that they would like to gift you a frog. Let's go. Welcome
Yes.
to the Frogland community, Violetta Zironi.
Let's go! Wow, thank you so much.
I don't know if you've looked into Frogland, but you should definitely look into it. It's an amazing team, very well equipped from Disney, Sony, NVIDIA, amazing people in the tech and
Yep.
entertainment industry.
And Ed Mason, who leads the team, is extraordinary. Unique NFT on Twitter. He's responsible for the Sattributes project on the ordinals out on the Bitcoin blockchain. He created AI blocks. He's generating some of the coolest tech out there right now.
Curve reality.
Once this stuff hits the widespread market, it's going to be revolutionary. So definitely an awesome team to have backing us, and a great community to be a part of, and happy to have you as a part of it now as well, Violetta. So go ahead and send us your wallet address, and we'll make sure that you get your frog.
And we're gonna make sure it's a cool one too. You know, we'll
Oh, I appreciate that so much. And yes, I've looked into the frogs, but I'll do a deeper dive then now. Thank you so much. I'm really excited.
totally.
Awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of start wrapping things up here, because you've given us so much of your time, and we're really appreciative of that. And I just kind of wanted to ask you if there's anything that you wanted to point people in the direction of in terms of new drops, or what you want to leave people with, because I know that I saw on your Twitter page you just put something on the ordinals yourself. Maybe you want to push that, or there's something else that you want people to take a look at. So please use this as an opportunity to tell everyone what they should be checking out.
I appreciate you guys so much. And yes, since you asked and you mentioned the ordinal kind of tech, I have indeed inscribed my first song on ordinals. I'm going to pin that tweet to the top so people
I beat you
can check
to
it.
it.
Thanks. Yeah, so actually that's, now that we've talked about, the story, kind of my background and stuff, all of what we just talked about is encapsulated in that piece, in that ordinal. The piece is called 10 Years. It's a song that I wrote 10 years, exactly 10 years after the day I did my first X Factor audition, which was May 26, 2013. 10 years and 6 days later, I wrote that song to commemorate my 10-year anniversary as a professional artist, independent artist. And, kind of commenting and reflecting on this journey that I just told you about, and where it took me, where it led me at the end of this first decade. So very important. The art was made by my dad, right, who was with me that day at my audition, and who played such a big role in my development as an artist. But the coolest thing about this piece is that it's inscribed on a Satoshi, an uncommon Satoshi mined May 26th, 2013. The day I was walking into that audition. Yeah, and also actually at the exact same time too, 1 p.m.
What the hell?
So,
No-
yeah,
no
it's got
way.
a lot of layers to it, yeah.
That's really
crazy.
cool. That's awesome. So everyone definitely go ahead and check that out. We pinned
That's
that
insane.
tweet to the top.
Wait,
it's called 10 Years.
Wait.
I'm
Did
just promoting it.
Like, how did you find it?
flabbergasted
How did
over
you
there.
find that? Like, did you have to go searching for that, or is that easy to find, or did you just happen to find it?
It was meant to be. Like, this whole thing was meant to be. That's why this piece is so valuable to me. So what happened was I wanted to inscribe that song that I'd written to commemorate that anniversary. I got put in touch with Rare Sat Society, which is a team that goes sat hunting, right? They look for rare sats and sell them to people. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to them, and I said, I would like to do this. And they like, hey, is there a significant date in your career that you care about? And so I told them May 26, 2013. And they're like, we have an uncommon from that day. So they just presented it to me, and they helped me inscribe it, and they sponsored me with it.
Wow.
They gave it to me for free.
That's so crazy. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely unbelievable. Well, we cannot thank you enough for being here with us today, Violetta, giving us so much of your time and sharing your stories with us, your perspectives. You've got an absolutely gorgeous voice, which I think the masses agree with, as your sales would show. I have no doubt that you'll continue to stay on those Billboard charts, and we look forward to seeing your career evolve as you move forward. And we're just so grateful that you shared some of your time with us. We're going to go ahead and play you out with 10 years. Why don't you mute that for 1 second, ASAP? No? Impossible? Okay. But yeah, so thank you very much for being on the show today, Violetta. We really appreciate you.
I appreciate you guys so much. I'm glad we finally made it happen. And excited to join the Frogs.
Hell yeah.
Yes, welcome, welcome, welcome.
And the Frogland community is excited to have you. So let's go ahead and play out 10 years. We're going to use that as our way to end the show. Thank you so much to everyone that joined us today, that stayed the whole time. We really appreciate you. We wouldn't be able to do this show if we didn't have a community listening. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We hope you have a wonderful Saturday, an excellent week until we see you next time. And this is Violetta Zironi with 10 years.
Across the ocean, land of clay, people might think I've gotten lost and ran astray. Who cares anyway? Just had to come and meet the sky in Tennessee. The moon is still but always free. It's worth it all to me. The love I've got to give, and the music I sing. And maybe home is far away. I guess I've really gone astray. And one day I'll just be another wanted face, but I will never change. Ooh.
That was absolutely gorgeous. You should all go ahead and check that out. We pinned that tweet to the top, and we'll be sharing that on the Sapo Studios page as well. Before we do close out the show, I saw that Sattributes just joined us, and I was speaking very highly of Ed Mason earlier, and he's the leader of the Sattributes project as well as Frogland. So, Ed, how are you today?
GM, very well, thank you. I'm sorry I missed the space. I didn't even realize Violetta was going to be here. Huge shout out to Violetta. I'm sorry I missed it, but I'm going to listen to the recording. I'm over in Lisbon. I'm actually a little tied up at a bit of a T-Gen networking party, so I won't be too long. But I did see the space, and I felt awful that I have missed this one. But yeah, I'm going to listen to the recording as soon as I get home. And hats off, flowers to Sapo, flowers to Violetta. Violetta, you still need to check your DMs. We need to get you into the Discord. Your invite is ready and waiting for you.
Yes, we actually just gifted her with a frog because Lollyhops told us that we could, which is awesome. So now Violetta is part of the Frogland community.
Amazing. Violetta, welcome to the Frog Fam, and great to have you there.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for hopping on, Ed. Appreciate you. And you can definitely listen to the recording afterwards, or you can hold off and listen to this on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, because we are streaming on all platforms. We'll go ahead and edit this one, chop it up, and have it up on the streaming services as soon as we can. And, it's unfortunate that a lot of those services do exploit artists, but we will hopefully pivot and find a better way to get our stuff seen at
Web
some
3
point.
podcast,
Web3 podcasts. Yeah, we're gonna have to transition because it's
Holy
screwed
crap.
up what these people do, and then
Web3 podcast.
Web3 podcast, man. All right. Well,
Who wants to?
we wanna let's ruminate on that.
Who wants to buy a Sapo Studios? Podcast NFT.
Let's go.
That's interesting. So now we got to play out another song. Violetta, I'm going to play out Another Life.
Okay.
Which you can purchase on OpenSea and I'm sure other NFT platforms.
Yes. So we'll go ahead and play Another Life. Thank you to Ed from Satributes and Frogland for hopping on up. Thank you again to Violetta and to all of our audience members for being here today. We appreciate you and love you all. And this is Violetta Zironi with Another Life. Sapo Studios.
The waves will
Out.
keep on rolling on, the stars will always shine. Funny how some things just never change. They say be careful what you want, seek and you shall find. The more things change, the more they stay the same. Maybe in another life I'll set sail upon the ocean, catch the wind as seagulls fly. I don't care where I'm going, let the current kindly carry me to my island paradise. Maybe, baby, in another life. Maybe in another life I'll fly off to New York City, Central Park, a carriage ride. Wouldn't miss breakfast at Tiffany's. I would wander 7th Avenue, see my name in Broadway lights. Maybe, baby, in another life. Or maybe it's the little things that really matter most. A few good friends and family on this long and winding road. Maybe in another life, westward bound for California, little me in a caravan, like a lion-hearted explorer, sleeping underneath the stars and waking to that big blue sky. Maybe, baby, in another life. Or maybe it's the little things that really matter most. A few good friends and family on this long. table set for two. Outside the rain starts falling, so we're back to bed till noon. And all those dreams I dare to dream, I can see